bring on our next presenter, which is David Sly from Swinburne University of Technology. And yeah, David should be coming on soon. Cool.
Yes, Liam. Yep, I'm here.
Cool. Cheers. That I'll hand over to you, David.
Great. Thank you. So firstly, thank you to Liam. Thank you to everyone. Absolutely loving this conference and the presentations that we've seen this morning. Just take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of land on which I'm presenting here in Melbourne, Australia. So what I wanted to tell you about is my experience. It's a long title, but my experience last semester, first semester, where I had to transfer lecture, like everyone, a whole bunch of lectures, and in particular 14 different labs to online. And I don't know how I survived, but did. And a little bit of my sort of experiences and what I learnt, and sort of following very much on from the last presenters. I think we all learned very similar things. So background to the course. So the course that I teach is Clinical Technologies, which is really training students for current positions as clinical physiologists in labs, where they go and do cardiac monitoring or neural monitoring or respiratory or renal monitoring. So they very much not only have to know the knowledge of the physiology, but they actually have to do it. They have to do, these labs. They have to stick the electrodes on and that. So what the course is, it's a major within a health science course. So that students do some general background biology, anatomy and biology that's not listed on here. But the course is kind of broken into two different parts. So I don't know if you can see my cursor, but great. So there's ones like neurophysiology and cardiopulmonary physiology, which we pick on because they're the kind of things that they are going to really need to know about monitoring. But then we have some sort of more techie-based ones where they do, data acquisition, medical instrumentation and measurement and monitoring, and physiological signal analysis, just a whole unit sort of on that, as well as doing medical imaging as well. So, so the challenge, like I call, was to quickly get all lectures in the 14 labs online, in insane way. And also to try to ensure the learning was still authentic, particularly the labs. I think the authenticity is the one that I worried about a lot. So here's my little mnemonic I made about knowledge and skills. It's probably too simple, but knowledge, I'm thinking about as information or facts or understanding something. And traditionally we kind of impart that through lectures and tutes. And skills, particularly like the motor skills, like the kind of skills to stick an electrode on or play around with gain and things on a power lab, are things that we learn in the labs. I realize it's not a perfect world like this. You can learn some skills like problem solving and that sort of thing in lectures and tutes. And in labs, you can learn knowledge. And I think LT jump to the point actually does allow us to do a bit of both of that. So, and I'll put this in, I wanted to talk more about the neuroscience, but there's not time. But, there's a sort of psychology view of those two sort of, parts of memory, the knowledge and the skills. And, the brain doesn't look like this block diagram, of course, but this is one way we know from studies that, these are sort of different types of memories. And we know that skills, like riding a bike, they form in different parts of the memories, and thankfully they're things that we kind of, once we learn, we kind of hold on to. So I think it's like interesting to think about that when we think about the knowledge versus the skills. So the previous presenter or question was asking about, what about lectures and how to transfer those. So what did we do? Well, wasn't too much rocket science really. We transferred our lecture slides, used Echo 360 to kind of record those. And, we quizzed the students in Canvas or in Kahoots. And then we had sort of finals where we had short answer type questions. And that generally worked, pretty well. It was pretty straightforward, really easy compared to transferring the labs. So what about the labs? Well, here's the 14 labs that we had to transfer, and I'm going to spend 2 hours going through it. And I'm like, so I just quickly mentioned these. So for 3 units, these are the kind of labs that we had and the different approaches that we use. So we had, video and data. At first, we actually had a couple that were in class, and then semester kind of just everyone was off campus and they had to switch to online. Video and data, video and software, video online software, that should be plus data. We use just Canvas, just with the video and the data. We use LT, MATLAB, LabVIEW, all sorts of things, because that's kind of what we were using previously. So I had to quickly replicate all of that. Now, some of these were easier than others. This is an example with LabVIEW where we had, in Canvas, we presented some notes. We collected a whole bunch of videos. These are just sort of screen grabs of the videos of doing an ECG with a circuit that we'd created. Then the students had lab notes and they had to go and read the PDFs. We give them procedural photos that they could put in their methods. Then they had to install the software. It was Windows only. So, I had to set up a virtual server at the university so students could log into the software there. Then they had to download the software, the example data zip file, install that. So what I'm saying is doable. I think we did a good job, but my God, how much work involved to make that look for the students like, this is so easy, and a lot of extra time on the sessionals part as well. Later in the semester, we switched to, sorry about that, just as I was getting to a punchline, we switched to LT. And yeah, just everything in the one spot, one login. This is flying through here, but you've seen all of this before where, you can put learning objectives, you can put little videos, students can do multiple choice, pre-testing, post-testing, either formative or summative MCQ. And for me too, they can do analysis in there, which is what previous presenter just mentioned. So they can actually learn. I'm teaching them about amplitude, RMS, and latency, and all these things, and they're really learning those skills. So the lessons learned for us: one, consistent platform for labs makes it easier for students and staff, for sure. LT allowed the sort of reading of theory and then immediate application to practice. Feedback's really important. I think what LT gave us is like you can get immediate and task specific, which is important for, if anyone knows John Hattie's work at Uni of Melbourne, like feedback is a critical factor. And it's not just feedback that's like at the end of semester, it's kind of like feedback as you're going through the labs. Students can have unlimited practice, and some lab skills, I was surprised, like physiological data analysis can actually be done pretty well in LT. I think, I'd like a few extra features, a little plug in there for spectral analysis and some other things would be fantastic. But it's off to a cracking start in that way. And students, we had lots of testimonials, but they found it was it was great. They liked the unified online experience, and the fact that they could actually manipulate data was fantastic. Just a thing though, like about are the simulations enough? And Elizabeth mentioned this in her first presentation, and Tony mentioned this as well. And we had these comments from our hospital partner, industry partners who in the neurophysiology domain in the clinics, sort of saying, a little bit worried about, the lab works where it's at. Students need the hands-on in order to come to our hospital labs. And the great quote from Aristotle, that, we learn things by doing them. And sorry about the men quote there. She was a female who provided the quote, so she recognised it's a bit dated, but I think the concept's still true. And another colleague mentioned, does the platform show error in measurement? Students these days often think that what comes out of a computer is gospel. Forget about calibrations and possible error in your data, and is this true or not? And Tony, sorry, I ripped this off his screen grab in the first day. I emailed you, Elaine, but you didn't have a chance maybe to reply because I emailed only about half an hour ago to ask permission. But here it is. It was a great summary where, online labs provide all of these things, but live labs, Tony was arguing that they provide some extra things. And that's where, we've got the sort of great, I've even got one here, like a great power lab system, are great for doing those extra bits. I'd say they're good too, in addition to what's on here, for me, good for error. Error, not just biological variability, but making mistakes and, and playing with the equipment and not getting things right. And also the skill learning. And just wanted to sort of finish on that. So in my previous department at Melbourne Uni, they had a great surgical simulator where they were training ENT surgeons, or looking at training ENT surgeons in a surgical simulator and comparing that to real temporal bone surgery. How well does that training translate to the real? And they had mixed results, but in the end, they actually found that that would translate. Those skills that they learned, and they've got haptic feedback drill and everything translated. But I learned that, they looked at this like really carefully, at things like face validity. How well did the simulation need to look compared to the real thing? And sometimes it didn't need to look like the real thing. But they also did lots of studies of construct validity, which is like, how well does the training simulation develop what it's intending to train? So just in summary, LT was by far the best platform for us for virtualizing pracs. The online simulated skills and pracs provided unlimited low stakes learning. For things like animal labs could be replaced with LT. At present, I think we just need to carefully consider which particular skills are best developed on campus, like where you need the Power Lab, and which okay online only. And we might need more studies of this, like comparing traditional versus online to see which ones need to can be transferred. But I think too, I mentioned this on Monday when I was in Tony's session. It's dawning on me that with future of digital health training, where the monitoring equipment and everything is getting simpler to operate, getting wearables. I've got things like Apple Watch, non-contact sensors like this. You can just put it on and get an ECG. Digital and data and telehealth based, students might even be able to use like these upcoming sensors from LT from home, get their own data, and more of it might be suitable for online delivery. But I'd still say that the combo, the blended learning, I don't want to lose the online, the in-class labs, but what I think I realized is it can actually increase the amount of prac labs we can get. We could get them doing the standard numbers in the class and then do these extra lab stuff, in online labs in LT, where they might do one online class, say with an evoke potential, where they might do a visual evoke potential, and they haven't got time to do another one in class, but they might do an auditory evoke potential or a somatosensory evoke potential online, and have time to cover more in the curriculum. So that's all I had to say. Thank you, and thanks a lot to Liam and to Cameron Rodriguez, who've helped me out a lot with LT and like these Power Lab systems and that through semester. So thanks very much.
Awesome. Cheers, David. Yeah, bang on time. Loving it. So yeah, chat was blowing up. So you might want to be going back through, David, and checking through the chat. Just checking if there's any questions. None have come through, but just want to give people opportunity if they do have a question now to ask. But if not, I'm not sure, David, if you're sticking around for the social session afterwards.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if you want to be asking in person, any questions to David, maybe join the social session straight after this event. So yeah, thanks again, David.